Story 1. I always insisted on splitting. I had a guy pay for dinner once who told me to pay him back half since I didn't have sex with him that night. Never made that mistake again. Story 2. I'm for it, especially if you're the woman and you're not feeling the guy. I'm not trying to come across as a freeloader and take advantage of someone who is kind enough to offer just to be polite. Plus, since it's so new, I think the bills should be split until you're official or more serious. But hey, that's just me. Story 3. I'd go into it expecting to pay for both of us. But if she insists on splitting, it's fine with me. However, for me, a first date is about getting to know the person, and I find that cheaper dates often serve that purpose better. I don't want to nickel and dime someone for their share of a $7 park pass or a $5 coffee, you know? Story 4. If it's a first date with someone you already know, old-fashioned rules apply. If it's a stranger from an app or something, always have a Dutch coffee date midday in public with your own transportation and exit strategy. Story 5. I'd feel embarrassed having someone pay for me, like they're paying me to be there. I'd also feel embarrassed paying for someone, like I'm paying them to be with me. Story 6. My feelings are, if your argument for why someone should do something ultimately comes down to because you're a certain gender, then it's nonsense. If you say, whoever asks the person on the date should pay, I would agree, but since men are expected to approach women and initiate dates, it's basically the same as saying the man should pay. And the reasoning for why men should approach and initiate is, you guessed it, because you're a certain gender. In the end, there is no benefit to paying for dates. If there was, women would argue that they should get to do it. Where it really gets funny is when a woman used to dating men realizes she's bisexual and starts dating women, only to find themselves faced with the kind of entitlement that believes their presence on a date should always be rewarded because they're the prize or whatever. Story 7. As a guy, I like paying for the bill, especially if I'm the one inviting. If my date wants to split or contribute, I suggest she invite me to something else, like maybe dessert or a drink afterward. Story 8. As a woman who values equality, I prefer splitting the bill on dates. I made the choice to go out, picked my outfit, and wore makeup for myself, not for anyone else. The other person also made the effort to meet me, so it feels fair. I'm not seeking a man to provide financial stability or cover my expenses. I want to remain independent. For me, it's not about the money, but about building a genuine connection. Story 9. Generally, if I invite you to something, I am paying. I would split the bill if it is ambiguous. I would let her pay if she offers. On a first date, though, you are probably going to have a better time if you do the normal expected thing and pay if you are the one who asked them out. Story 10. For me, it's simple. If I'm asking someone to dinner or lunch, I'm paying. If someone asks me to lunch or dinner, I expect them to pay, but I take my wallet. The circumstance to me is irrelevant. Story 11. If I ask the person out on the date, I'll pay. If we just sort of mutually decided to go out and eat without any specific conversation about it, I'll assume we're splitting it. Story 12. If she won't, then there's no second date. I'll share everything I have with a woman who shares with me. I'll pay for every meal and every holiday and enjoy doing it. But I don't pay for every random woman who agrees to meet. Takes a lot more than that. Story 13. As a man, I go into every first couple of dates planning to pay for everything just because that's how I was raised. I've never had a woman offer to split the bill before, but if they did, I would probably just go with it, I guess. Story 14. People have mixed feelings on this, and you have to play it by ear depending on who you are with. However, the women and men who think the guy should completely pay for the first date are the loudest and most judgmental. Story 15. If there is no agreement in advance of the date, expect to pay your way. Plan and prepare to pay for all, except in egregious circumstances like a date who orders the priciest items or extra meals to take home. If they offer to pay, graciously accept. Perhaps offer to cover next time. If the date is going well and egregious circumstances don't apply, consider excusing yourself to the bathroom and actually go to pay. If there is an agreement in advance, follow it. Even if egregious circumstances apply, just do it. An agreement in advance means any time before people have committed explicitly to the date, such as travel, but not merely implicitly, such as blocking off the day. If you both get to the venue, That's the wrong time to be asking and sorting out those details. I consider this gender-neutral advice. Story 16. I was raised to believe that the person who invites pays the bill. If someone were to press, shockingly few do, then of course split 50 to 50. You make one objection to be classy, but after that all's fair. Story 17. I'm a male. If I ask a girl out, I am expecting myself to pay for both of us, unless she suggests splitting at some point, in which case we're definitely splitting. Manners cost nothing. Story 18. If you invite someone out, be prepared to pay for both. If you are invited out, be prepared to offer to pay for your half or keep it modest on the bill. Do not order 2 drinks, an appetizer, the most expensive entree, a dessert, and then another entree to go. Story 19. I usually let the guy pay. I'll offer. It depends on their job and situation. However, I'll really insist if I didn't enjoy the date and don't plan on seeing them again. Story 20. First date I'll pay, but I also don't make it an expensive first date, so whatever. But I expect her to start paying for things on the second or at most the third date. If she hasn't paid for anything after the second date, then it's a no-go. Story 21. I usually don't care. If she offers to pay half, we can split it. If not, whatever. I don't usually lose sleep over it. Only one time pissed me off. It was her idea to go to a slightly more pricey place, and then she did nothing to try to carry the conversation or make it an enjoyable night. She pretended not to notice when the bill arrived. Story 22. I think it's great, but I'm always happy to pay for both of us too. Whatever the other person prefers is fine by me. Now, if one date turns into several, it's nice if there's reciprocity. Story 23. I would always like to pay the bill, but if someone took advantage or took it for granted, it would be the last time I'd want to see them. If you like them, it's a nice gesture to say you can get it the next time. Story 24. I used to go by, had fun, want to see them again, pay about 70 to 80%. I still do this in established relationships. Until the gender wage gap closes, I won't stop. Nah, I'm good with never seeing them again, split it. I paid for everything a few times before, but I wouldn't recommend it. It establishes a precedent, and I got taken advantage of more than a few times. Paying for everything is only for special dates in an established relationship. Story 25. Granted, it's been 15 years since my last first date, but I always paid, or at least tried to pay, for the first date. I know there's a fine line between paying because I am being gentlemanly versus making the girl feel like she owes me something, so I try not to insist too much that I pay if she wants to pay her half. But why do I pay? Not because I believe in being chivalrous or because I believe women should be reliant on me. I do it because it maximizes my attractiveness. At the end of the day, most women view being a provider as attractive, and most men view looks as the most important factor. A 7 out of 10 girl is going to remain a 7 out of 10 if she pays or doesn't pay. A 5 out of 7 guy maybe moves up to 6 out of 10 if he has no problem paying for any meal. So, why not potentially boost my attractiveness by 1? Even if the date isn't going anywhere, she may have friends or someone may ask about me. It's good to leave a good impression. Also, I figure the girl is probably spending an hour or so getting ready, figuring out what to wear, what makeup to put on, and so forth. I'm literally going in with what I am already wearing. Since she's putting in more effort, I should at least pay for more of it. Story 26. As a guy who hasn't been on a date for a long time because of marriage, I would always cover the first date. It's old-fashioned, but I'd offer to let her buy us drinks or the second date if it's on. If not, we can just go our separate ways. Really looking forward to never having a first date again, though. Story 27. I don't mind paying my own bill. I'm capable. Plus, my rule is simple. If I'm the one who invites you out, I'll probably cover your meal too. My treat, but if you want to split, then I'm cool too. Why make life harder as it is? Laughing out loud. Story 28. Doesn't feel right to me. Since I'm the one who invited her out, I feel like I should get the bill. They almost always pick up their purse when the bill comes, like they want to help pay, and the gesture is appreciated, but I always have to turn it down. Also, I'm worried that reaching for the purse is a test. If I accept the offer and let her pay half, I fail the test. Story 29. As a man, when I was dating, I went in with the expectation that I was paying the bill. Maybe it's old-fashioned or whatever, but 90% of the time you can't go wrong with that approach. If she brought it up and wanted to split the bill, then sure, split the bill. Story 30. I always pay on dates, whether it's the first or 50th. Or at least I try to. Sometimes my date will insist on splitting it. That's fine. I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable. But if I'm inviting someone to dinner or an event, I fully expect to pay. I don't feel bad or resentful about it in the least. If I did, I wouldn't invite them out to begin with. It's not so much about the money. It's about stepping up, taking charge, showing her you can lead and support. Plus, it's just a nice thing to do. Story 31. It's been a long time since there was a first date, but I always make my wife pay when we go out. It makes me feel special. The joke is that it's a joint account. Story 32. As a guy, I never ask to split the bill, but if my date offers to, then I don't argue the point. I just let them split it. It's silly to argue over the bill, especially on a first date, so whatever they want to do, that's what we're doing. My default answer, though, is I always assume I'm the one paying the whole thing unless she says otherwise. If a date is going really well and she offers to split the bill, or even pay for the whole thing, it's happened. Then I'll say thank you and add, but I get to pay the next one, to imply that I do want to pay my fair share, and also that I hope there's a next one. Story 33. Laugh out loud if she is not willing to split the bill. I am not paying for both. Plus, she is a loser. No one is going to buy you free food in this economy. We do not even know each other. Story 34. If I do not want a second date, I always accept their offer to pay half. Otherwise, I will insist on paying full and saying they can pay next time, knowing full well I am a people pleaser who will probably pay full next time too. Story 35. So here's the thing. Guys have to pay for it. Girls should offer to split. Guys should politely say, I got it. Those are the rules now. Well, those are the rules if you're still interested. Story 36. I feel like it shouldn't be as big of a deal as it is. Who cares? I pay, she pays, we split. I've had girls offer to split the bill, then tell me after the fact they're mad I didn't pay it all. Then after the date, they disappear into the ether. Story 37. I prefer it. This is the first date and it may not go anywhere. I don't want to ditch someone I just met with the bill. And if you try to ditch me with the bill, I'll pay my portion and walk because what the hell. Story 38. I think the first date should be super casual, ordering from a food truck and walking around, checking out little shops. It helps keep the nerves in check. If you are ordering from a food truck or counter anyway, pay for yourself. Story 39. Honestly, I feel just fine about this. It curbs the tendency for some people to go on dates just to get a free meal. If both people are splitting the bill, it also lets the date focus on getting to know each other without having any implied repayment undertones either. Story 40. I am prepared to pay, but if the date insists, I am not going to argue over it. Some women like to pay their way or not feel like they owe anything, which I can respect. Sometimes if a date wants to split it, I will suggest I pay for the meal and she can get us drinks afterwards, thus keeping the date rolling and she gets to contribute plus more alcohol. Story 41. You'll see women say whoever asks should pay, but it's very atypical for women to ask somebody out on a date. It's not the social norm, nor do guys wait around for girls to ask them out. So, really when most women say this, they're just admitting they want free food or that they feel entitled to being spoiled. Story 42. If someone asks to take you out, that kind of means they are going to pay. It is the same as saying, my friends and I are taking out our other friend for her birthday. Story 43. If that's what she wants, that's fine, but I'm a little old-fashioned that way. I'll happily pay for her. I'm one of those horrible people who likes to open doors and hold out chairs for her as well. But if she's not into that, it's fine. I'm flexible. Story 44. As a guy, if I'm taking a girl out on a date, I'm definitely paying. I wouldn't even think about making the girl pay for a first date. Now, if she asked me out, it might be a different story. Story 45. I think it's perfect. I'm in a great relationship right now, and my boyfriend and I take turns paying for dinners or splitting the bill on date nights. When you first start dating, or even as a legitimate first date before going exclusive, I have always preferred paying for my own food and drinks. Story 46. Historically, I always paid on the first date. It set a precedent where any trips or special dates were always my responsibility to fund. The one girl I split the bill with on the first date, I ended up marrying. Honestly, it was nice to date someone who made decent money and didn't consider her money hers and my money ours. She would even surprise me with trips and fully pay for them. One thing that used to bug me in the past when I was paying for the date was the other person not offering to split the bill and not saying thank you for picking up the tab. Looking back, I definitely dated a lot of women who expected it. Story 47. If it was me who invited them out to dinner, I wouldn't have a problem with paying. If they offered to split it, I'd gratefully accept. I haven't been on a first date in quite a while though. As I recall, the last one I was on, she invited me to her house, cooked dinner, and we played Settlers of Catan with her brother. Story 48. Depends on how arranging the date went. If I asked her out and specifically suggested dinner, I would expect to pay for the whole thing. If we both decided to go out and have dinner, splitting it makes sense.